Good morning and welcome to Leadership Devotionals. Fellow leaders, we are now on the fifth installment of Jesus on leadership. And as we progress on to the lessons that we have learned on the leadership of Jesus, may we daily imbibe such lessons in our lives. A leadership that is founded in mission. A leadership that serves. A leadership that makes and establishes relationships with people, making everyone around us as friends. And in our last episode, a leadership at its very core and being is humility. Now, in today's episode, we are on the second installment of leading with humility. And if I may interject here, if you have been blessed with our leadership devotional episodes, I enjoin you to share this in your timeline. You can also find this in YouTube, and you can share it with your friends. If you have been blessed, don't keep the blessings to yourself. Share it with other people so that more people will be blessed. And when leaders are blessed, and when leaders are following the footsteps of Jesus, just imagine the domino effect on the followers. That the followers will see Jesus on their leaders. Yes, let us continue to spread the leadership principles that Jesus has modeled for us. And so for today, let's continue on. The ambition of Jesus was never to be first or foremost, but rather it was his sole focus, and that is to do his Father's will. When Jesus challenged the worldview of religious leaders, or when the time that he cleared the temple of those who defiled its ministry, he was acting in selfless service to the will of God. Remember, he said, "How dare you make my Father's house?" Okay? It was not about him. "You have made my Father's house a den of thieves." You have commercialized the worship here in my Father's house. And so this is all about service to the Father. This is all about his mission from the Father. He was acting in selfless service to the will of God, not to accomplish his own plans or to realize vain ambitions. That's how Jesus modeled leadership for us. When Jesus was the focus, you see, he was doing a lot of miracles. He was healing people. And people definitely can see the leadership traits of Jesus. They wanted to proclaim him king. And when Jesus was the focus of the admiration and appreciation of the clamoring throng, of the multitude, you know what he did? He deflected and redirected such compliments, such praises, such adoration to the Father above. Yes, this is the will of my Father. Do not praise me, but praise the Father. Ego was never a problem with Jesus Christ, who was subjected to the vilest and the most heinous death known at the time, and that is the death on a cross. Jesus died as a common criminal between two common criminals, while people around the cross jeered and taunted him. The death Jesus Christ experienced was hardly the kind expected of a prominent world leader. I repeat that. The death Jesus Christ experienced was hardly the kind expected of a prominent world leader. You see, when prominent world leaders this day die, the crowd, the throng following the hearse are just so enormous. People, hundreds of thousands paying their respect. No jeering, no taunting. But that is not in the case of Jesus. Thus, from the very beginning of his life on earth, to his crucifixion on Calvary, and then to his burial in a borrowed tomb. Just imagine that. Even this time, for a place to rest, on his death, it was still a borrowed tomb. Here we can see Jesus modeled humility. I repeat, Jesus modeled humility. Between his life and death, Jesus led by serving. The most poignant example of his service, of course, took place in the upper room. A few hours before his crucifixion, it took place in the upper room when, he washed the feet of his disciples. Here in John 13, verse 3-5, John records, Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. And so, he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. Now, what's so significant about this? What's so important about this? You see, in the ancient Near East, in the time of Jesus, the roads then were never paved. There was no cement road, there's no asphalt road that time. The roads were just gravel, and in some areas it might be muddy. And so when you arrive in a certain place, you arrive in a house, or you go to the upper room, definitely your feet will be dirty. It will be dusty. And supposedly, there has to be a doulos or a diakonos, or that is a servant, who will be there by the doorway to wash your feet so that you will not bring in the mud or bring in the dirt from outside into the room. But what happened here was, apparently there was no servant to wait in the door. And so everyone just went in the room. They were all there sitting and about to take the meal, ready to take the meal. Nobody took the initiative to wash the feet of his fellow disciples, but rather they were all jostling. Who wants to sit on the right side and the left side of Jesus? They were all, elbowing each other for position to be near Jesus. And here comes Jesus, rising up from the table, taking off his outer garment, putting a towel on his waist, and started the work of a servant, washing the feet of his disciples. Note that Jesus does this at the very moment of his fullest realization and actualization of divinity. This is at the very moment when just a few hours from then on, it will be the actual fulfillment of the mission that he was tasked with when he came down here on earth. In washing the feet of his disciples, an assignment usually performed by servants on such occasions, Jesus showed an amazing and a wonderful picture of God. Wow. We know that Jesus is the representation of God the Father here on earth. And in washing the feet of his disciples, Jesus showed an amazing picture of God. That he was willing to surrender his exalted position at the table, or even his exalted position in heaven, to serve those he was leading, even the one who would betray him, even the one who would deny him. As a servant leader, Christ rose above the temptation to retaliate, a temptation to which not a few leaders, earthly leaders, would succumb. And in washing the feet of Peter, the person who would later deny him, Jesus showed that meeting the needs of those whom he served, is paramount in the agenda of a true servant leader. Okay, I leave you this thought. And in washing the feet of Peter, the person who would deny him a few hours later, Jesus showed here that meeting the needs of those whom they serve is paramount in the mind, in the agenda of a true servant leader. To wash the feet of his disciples, Jesus has to bend his knees, an act that is infused with symbolism and meaning, including that of submission. Wow! Just imagine all these acts of humility done by the most prominent world leader of all, and that is Jesus Christ. May you and I, fellow leaders, lead with such kind of humility that Jesus has modeled for us. God bless you. Hello, fellow leaders. If you have been blessed with the devotional that you have just heard, don't forget to like, share, or subscribe. Because when you do that, more people, more leaders will be blessed with the same blessing that you have experienced. In YouTube channel, click subscribe to Good Shepherd Consultants. God bless you.